Sadly, the vast majority of Islamic apologetics, it's cringe, it's low through.
Meanwhile,
what would it take for you to believe in God?
Well, I used to say it would be very simple. It would be a great big deep booming bass Paul Robeson voice saying, I am God and I created. Even if there was this booming voice and the second coming in clouds of glory, the more probable explanation is that it's a hallucination.
Look at this dude. What would persuade you?
Well, I'm starting to think nothing would.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Islamic podcast. Recently, I had a chance to watch a video by Rationality. He is basically a very popular atheist apologist. In that video, he basically attacked Brother Ali Dawah for defending the fine-tuning argument. So let's see what he says, and then I'll make my response, inshallah.
If there is infinite time, why not infinite possibilities?
Let's give it infinite amount of time. Would you get Ferrari? No.
You see, this is what happens when we have Muslim hosts pitch an atheist question.
They're Muslim.
We get a circle jerk preaching to the choir, wherein the viewer's confidence is softly patted on the back, but we receive nothing of actual substance.
In the very beginning, he's like,
all of you are these Muslims, they're making videos and they're only patting themselves in the back.
Insulting the whole Muslim community.
he's a Muslim. Why have we got Muslims in a Christian country?
He says that whenever these Muslims, they discuss atheism, they're just patting themselves in the back and nothing substance is coming out of it, which is not true. I mean, like, Islamic intellectual tradition dates back nearly thousands of years. So if you think that whenever we discuss disbelief, somehow it's just patting ourselves in the back, well, I mean, you're free to believe that, but you would also be a very stupid person if you actually believe that. Regardless, let's continue. So in the beginning, he just insults us. He's being very Islamophobic from the very beginning, but let's continue.
Again, before anyone strawmans me, no, I'm not saying Stephen is saying all Muslim discussion is biased. I said if he believes this. Please note he made a general statement about Muslims, so I am justified to believe he might have an Islamophobic take.
Ali Dawah, a Muslim apologist and YouTuber, was invited onto Towards Eternity to discuss the concept of infinite time and possibilities. The host posed the question,
if there is infinite time, why not infinite possibilities?
Which is a query or objection that emerges in response to various fine-tuning arguments. For instance, a theist will present something which they're certain is unlikely to have occurred by mere chance, such as the cosmological constant or the precise conditions that were needed for life to have emerged, and then reason that, due to the unlikelihood of these things happening by random chance, we're justified in presuming an intelligent designer who wanted it to happen. Atheists, non-believers, skeptics typically counter this in two ways. First, by emphasizing that we don't actually know the probabilities of these cosmic parameters. Indeed, theists are merely assuming the probabilities. For all we know, these conditions could have been highly likely, or even guaranteed.
Yeah, so basically what he's discussing is the fine-tuning argument. So if you guys are not familiar with the fine-tuning argument, so basically the idea is that the universe is tuned in a way where it seems like someone made it for us, right? And it is actually described in the Quran. For example, in Quran chapter 45, verse 13, it says, and he has subjected to you whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth, all from him. Indeed, in that are signs for people who give thought. What that means is that like everything in the universe was created for us. And if you look at it carefully, you will see signs of that. And there are many evidence of this. Like, for example, if you look at the Earth is the exact distance from the sun, where it's not too far away and it's not too close, right? It's in an extremely perfect and delicate balance where we don't go either way. And it helps us survive. Right? But this then begs a question like, why is it like so finely tuned, right? And one of the explanation is that is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created it that way to help us survive. So this is the kind of argument that many theists often makes, and this is something we believe in Islam as well. So that's basically what Ali Dawah is kind of like trying to defend, because atheists then object to this verse and to this argument, and they say that, well, first of all, we don't know exactly what is the parameter regarding this fine-tuning is like we don't know like how many universes there are. Is it like an infinite universe? Is there like a multiverse or not? Like we don't know, so we cannot fully say whether it is finely tuned or not, right? Now, this is an objection. This is a very common objection that many atheists make. And it's not a good objection. Let me explain why. If you're on the road and if you're walking down the road and you see a dead body that has been stabbed and the knife is still sticking out, and you look at that, then what is the first thing that will come to your mind? The first thing that will come to your mind is that, well, could it be the case that we live in a multiverse where maybe in this universe, people just randomly get stabbed by a knife without anyone stabbing them? Or would you think that, okay, some asshole stabbed this guy? Obviously, it'll be the second one, right? So this is an obvious case of Occam's razor, where basically the simplest explanation makes the most sense here. So we have actually no reason to believe that there's this multiple universe. That's what's causing these things to look finely tuned or intelligently designed, right? We have no reason to think that. So unless there's any evidence to suggest that it is the case that there are multiple universes and it is infinite in number, we have no reason to believe this. So we have no reason to bring that, make that baggage part of our explanation. So this is not a good objection at all. And simple Occam's razor debunks this.
Again, someone could object and say, well, the same can be said about God. We have no reason to think God caused these finely tuned things to come into existence. This objection completely misses the point of this argument, which is we do have reason to believe complex and meaningful things can be done by an intelligent being. We can see intelligent beings such as humans make complex, finely tuned, and meaningful things. So it logically follows that a higher intelligent being could cause the universe to be finely tuned.
However, sometimes a second objection arises. The skeptic will tentatively grant the low probability, but emphasize that given enough attempts or time, even vastly improbable outcomes are near guaranteed. The chances of you rolling a 20-sided dice and getting a 20 is low. But if you were to re-roll the dice 1 billion times, you'd almost be guaranteed to get a 20. The same principle applies to flipping a coin and getting heads 10 times in a row. While this is very unlikely, if you keep flipping that coin for eternity, you'd eventually hit the streak.
This glass is empty. Yes? Empty. If we said infinite time, because the argument here is you give it infinite amount of time, anything can happen.
Here, Ali has done his best to restate the argument, which he conveys as the idea that given infinite time, anything can happen. Let's put that aside and come back to it.
This is a fallacy, because to make the properties, argument's sake, if I like a chocolate cheesecake, not chocolate cheesecake, let's talk Turkish, yeah? A nice sutlac, yeah? If I want to have a sutlac in here, and I say, let's give it infinite time, would I ever get a sutlac?
A fallacy, huh?
This is a fallacy.
Okay, let's hear it. Why is this objection fallacious? Do tell us, Ali.
And by the way, I like my sutlac burnt on the top. Let's be specific. Would we ever get it? No, because the equation of time is irrelevant. If the components to make a sutlac, the way I like it, is not in there, you will never get a sutlac.
Let's try and unpack that for a second.
Here, basically, he raises the second objection, which is that basically sometimes to respond to this argument, atheists oftentimes bring up this point that, well, if we have multiple universes or we have multiple possibilities, it's very much possible that you could have an universe that happens to be the case that just looks designed, right? We have no reason to assume that a multiverse exists. However, Brother Ali actually raises an interesting objection to this, which is that even if it is the case that you have infinite amount of things, or infinite amount of universes or something like that. The examples he gives is this Turkish desert, sutlac, right? So basically the idea here is that if in an empty glass you never have the components which make a sutlac present, then you will never have a sutlac. Now, one of these components is obviously an intelligent designer, because you cannot make a sutlac unless you're like a chef, right?
Put another way, if what's required for something to occur is not there, well, it simply follows that it will never occur, because the very components that are required are not there, regardless of any amount of time given. And that's it. That's the totality of his response. But that's all that's needed.
So he agrees. He agrees that there has to be an intelligent designer. And I think it only makes sense that after that, the video ends. And I think Stephen became a Muslim after that. No? End of video. No, of course not. It's not that easy. Obviously, he has an objection to this. So let's actually hear his objections, jokes aside.
But not so fast. As is often the case with the Dawah boys, the devil is in the details.
If we set infinite time, because the argument here is you give it infinite amount of time, anything can happen. This is a fallacy.
The irony is that while accusing the objection of being fallacious, Ali and the hosts are committing a fallacy. Indeed, the whole bit about the sutlac just popping up out of thin air into his empty glass is a straw man. Why? Because it misrepresents the objection entirely. Remember, the point is, given enough time, improbable events are likely to eventually happen. But notice how Ali presents the objection.
No, because the properties to make a universe or a Ferrari or my sutlac, which is more important, is not in there. So if it's not in there, you will never get it.
Do you see the problem? The sleight of hand? Ali is strawmanning the objection to be, given enough time, enough rolls of the dice, anything will occur.
Anything can happen.
When in reality, the actual objection is, given enough time, enough rolls of the dice, anything possible is likely to occur.
Okay, so basically he accuses Brother Ali of strawmanning the objection. So basically he says that the objection is basically saying that given enough time, anything possible can happen. But he's misrepresenting it and saying that given enough time, anything can happen. But that's not what he's saying. So he himself, while accusing Brother Ali of strawman, he himself strawmans Brother Ali. See, Ali though is not saying that anything can happen. If you look at the video and his own video, he clearly says, unless the components which makes the sutlac, a sutlac, which means the possible components of what makes a sutlac, is there, you'll never get sutlac. So he is talking about things that are possible. He's not talking about something that's impossible or something that's contradictory.
This glass is empty. Yes? Empty. If we set infinite time, because the argument here is you give it infinite amount of time, anything can happen. This is a fallacy. Because to make the properties, argument's sake, if I like a chocolate cheesecake, not a chocolate cheesecake, let's talk Turkish, yeah? A nice sutlac, yeah? If I want to have a sutlac in here, and I say, let's give it infinite time, would I ever get a sutlac? And by the way, I like my sutlac burnt on the top. Let's be specific. Would we ever get it? No, because the equation of time is irrelevant. If the components to make a sutlac, the way I like it, is not in there, you will never get a sutlac.
Is a straw man.
Wallahi, we will call you out and we will catch you.
For example, let's say that this sutlac, which is a Turkish dish, you have all these components in a world and you have infinite time passing, right? You have the sugar, you have the rice, you have the pudding, right? All these different components. I don't know how sutlac is made, but I'm guessing that's used. But let's say that they're in a room and infinite amount of time is passing, or you're having a situation where you have infinitely generating universes and you have everything, like all the components are there, then will you have a sutlac in that case, in one of those universes? The answer is no, because one of the components which makes sutlac here is missing. That is intelligence, right? That is the chef's intelligence. See, when you're making a sutlac, not anyone can just make a sutlac. You need to know the recipe, and you need to be willing to make the sutlac, and you need to be able to make the sutlac. Like, these things need to be there. Unless you have the chef there who can put all the components of the sutlac together, you'll never have sutlac. Same way, unless you have an intelligent being who can put together this thing which looks designed is there, you'll never have something that looks designed. These are complex objects that are made up of multiple different parts. And putting them together requires intelligence and will. Unless these two things are there, you'll never have these things. It doesn't matter how many universes you have.
Anyway, the point is, whether or not a multiverse exists, an intelligent designer is still the best explanation for things that looks finely tuned or intelligently designed.
This is just a straw man, but regardless, let's continue this.
Indeed, they're all confident, acting as if they've easily dispensed of this critical objection, and it's cringe. Sadly, the vast majority of Islamic apologetics, it's just like this. It's just cringe. It's low fruit. It's pridefully destitute of logic, incapable of embarrassment.
I'm stronger. I'm smarter. I'm better. I am better.
My strawman version of Ali Dawah's argument is so cringe. Like, he just straight up insults the Muslim community. This is cringe. Being Islamophobic is cringe. This has become so normalized, this kind of like generalization and stereotypes. Oh, Muslims are just dumb Arab Bedouins that lives in Arabia and just chops people's head off, and they're just dumb, even though we have like a tradition that goes back thousands of years. And your so-called Western civilization is only like 400 years old. It's a child compared to the Islamic civilization. It's baffling to me that a smart person like you, or at least a person who thinks they're smart, would believe something like this. It's fascinating to me. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys like the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. If you want to support me, then please consider becoming a Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. And inshallah, see you guys next time. Inshallah,